The alarm clock screamed at 4:30 a.m., just like it did every Tuesday morning. Maya Chen rolled out of her narrow bed, her feet hitting the cold wooden floor of her tiny apartment. The sound of her mother's coughing from the next room made her heart sink a little deeper into her chest. 3 months now since the diagnosis, and the medical bills kept piling up like autumn leaves. Maya splashed cold water on her face and looked at herself in the cracked bathroom mirror. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of too many double shifts and not enough sleep. But today was Tuesday, which meant tips might be a little better at Murphy's Diner. People seemed friendlier on Tuesdays for some reason. She grabbed her worn-out sneakers and her server's apron, kissed her sleeping mother's forehead, and stepped out into the Seattle drizzle. The city was just waking up, and the smell of fresh rain mixed with coffee from the corner shop filled the air. Maya walked the 6 blocks to Murphy's Diner, counting the crumpled bills in her pocket. $43, not enough for Mom's medication and definitely not enough for next month's nursing school payment. Murphy's Diner sat on the corner of Pine Street like an old friend who'd seen better days. The neon sign flickered. The red booth seats had duct tape over the tiers, and the coffee machine made strange, gurgling sounds. But it was home to Maya, and more importantly, it paid the bills. Most of them anyway. "Morning, sunshine," called out Rita, the other waitress, as Maya tied her apron. Rita had worked at Murphy's for 15 years and knew every regular customer's order by heart. "We've got the usual crowd today, plus that old guy is back." "Which old guy?" Maya asked, filling her first pot of coffee. "The one who sits in booth 3 every Tuesday. Orders black coffee, nothing else. Counts out his change like it's gold coins." Rita shook her head. "Probably homeless, but he's clean and polite, so Murphy lets him stay." Maya had seen him before. A thin elderly man with silver hair that looked like he cut it himself. His clothes were clean but faded, like they'd been washed 1,000 times. He always carried a small leather coin purse and spoke in a quiet voice that made you lean in to hear him. The morning rush started around 7. Construction workers grabbing coffee and donuts, office workers checking their phones while eating hurried breakfasts, and students from the nearby college nursing hangovers with greasy food. Maya moved between tables like a dancer, balancing plates and refilling coffee cups, her smile genuine even when her feet screamed in protest. At 8:15, the old man walked in. He moved slowly but with dignity, nodding politely to Maya as he made his way to booth 3. The same booth every Tuesday, always facing the window so he could watch people walk by. "Good morning," Maya said, approaching his table with the coffee pot. "Black coffee?" "Yes, please," he replied, his voice soft but clear. "Just coffee today." Maya poured the steaming liquid into his cup and watched as he wrapped his weathered hands around it, like he was holding something precious. There was something about his eyes that caught her attention. They were kind but sad, like someone who'd seen a lot of life. "That'll be $2.50, Maya said gently. The old man opened his small coin purse and began counting, quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Maya pretended to clean the next table while she waited, giving him time without making him feel rushed. She'd learned that some customers needed patience, especially the older ones. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, looking up at her with embarrassed eyes. "I seem to be $1 short. I thought I had enough." Maya looked at the coins spread on the table, $1.50. Her heart did a little flip. She knew that feeling of counting every penny, of hoping you had enough for something as simple as a cup of coffee. "You know what?" Maya said, scooping up the coins. "It's a rainy Tuesday, and rainy Tuesdays call for free coffee. This one's on the house." The old man's eyes widened slightly. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly—" "Sure you can," Maya interrupted with a warm smile. "Besides, I make the best coffee in the city. Consider it a sample." She winked at him. "Maybe you'll come back and tell your friends." For a moment, the old man just stared at her. Then his face broke into a smile that seemed to light up the whole diner. "That's very kind of you, miss." "Very kind indeed." Maya felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't about the dollar. It was about dignity, about treating people like they mattered. Her grandmother had taught her that kindness cost nothing but was worth everything. "What's your name?" the old man asked as Maya turned to leave. "Maya," she replied. "And you?" "Henry," he said, extending a slightly shaky hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Maya." They shook hands, and Maya noticed his grip was still strong despite his age. There was something about him that seemed different from the other customers, but she couldn't put her finger on what it was. Well, Henry, you enjoy that coffee. And don't you worry about the dollar. Sometimes we all need a little kindness. As Maya walked away, she heard Henry say quietly, "Yes, sometimes we do." The rest of the morning flew by in a blur of orders and coffee refills. Maya noticed that Henry sat in his booth for over an hour, sipping his coffee slowly and watching the world go by through the rain-streaked window. He left quietly, but not before catching Maya's eye and nodding his thanks. "You paid for his coffee, didn't you?" Rita asked during the lunch lull. Maya shrugged. "It was only $1. That's $1 you don't have, honey. You've got your own problems." Maya looked out the window where Henry had been sitting. "We all do, Rita, we all do." After her shift, Maya walked home with $32 in tips. Not great, but not terrible either. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment, she could hear her mother's television playing softly. The medical bills sat on the kitchen table like unwelcome guests, and her nursing school payment was due in 2 weeks. But for some reason, thinking about Henry's smile made the problem seem a little smaller. There was something magical about connecting with another human being, about seeing someone's day get a little brighter because of a simple act of kindness. Maya didn't know it yet, but that dollar she'd given away would change her life in ways she could never imagine. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest waves, and sometimes kindness comes back to you when you need it most. As she fell asleep that night, Maya thought about Henry's eyes and wondered what his story was. Everyone had a story, and she had a feeling his was probably more interesting than most. The following Tuesday, Maya was wiping down tables when she saw a familiar figure through the rain-streaked window. Henry was walking slowly down Pine Street, his old gray coat pulled tight against the October wind. She felt a little flutter of happiness in her chest. Something about seeing him again made her morning feel brighter. "Your coffee guy is back," Rita called from behind the counter, rolling her eyes. "Booth 3 is calling his name." Maya smiled and grabbed the coffee pot. When Henry settled into his usual spot, she was already there with a steaming cup. "Good morning." "Henry, black coffee right on time." "Good morning." "Maya." His face lit up with that same gentle smile she remembered. "You have an excellent memory." "It's easy to remember the nice customers," Maya said, setting down the cup. "How are you doing today?" Henry wrapped his hands around the warm mug just like before. "Better now, thank you. This place has become the bright spot of my week." This time, Henry had exact change ready. $2.50 counted out perfectly. But Maya noticed something else. He had a small paper bag with him, the kind you might pack a lunch in. "Are you eating breakfast somewhere else?" she asked, nodding toward the bag. Henry looked down at it, then back at her. "Oh, this? It's just, well, I've been feeding the pigeons in the park. My wife used to do that. She said they needed someone to care about them." His voice got softer. "I suppose I do it now because it makes me feel close to her." Maya's heart squeezed a little. "How long has it been?" "Since you lost her?" 8 months, Henry said quietly. 43 years of marriage and then silence. He looked out the window. "The house feels so empty now. Coming here talking to you, it's the most conversation I have all week." Without thinking, Maya slid into the seat across from him. The morning rush wouldn't start for another hour, and something told her Henry needed someone to listen. "What was she like?" Maya asked. Henry's eyes sparkled. "Oh, Elizabeth was something special. She could make friends with anyone in 5 minutes. Always bringing home stray cats, helping neighbors, organizing charity drives. She used to say that kindness was the only thing that really mattered in this world." He paused, looking directly at Maya. "She would have liked you very much." "I would have liked to meet her," Maya said honestly. "She sounds wonderful." She was. Henry sipped his coffee. "What about you, Maya? You're here every morning so early. Do you have family?" Maya told him about her mother, about the medical bills, about her dream of becoming a nurse. She found herself sharing things she usually kept private. How scared she was about the money. How tired she felt sometimes, but how much she loved helping people. "Nursing is a noble profession," Henry said. "Elizabeth was a nurse when we first met. She always said it took a special heart to care for others when they're at their most vulnerable." From that day forward, Henry became a regular. Not just Tuesdays, but Wednesdays and Fridays too. Always booth 3, always black coffee, always exact change. And Maya always made sure his cup never went empty. She started saving day-old pastries for him. Murphy's policy was to throw them out, but Maya would wrap up a muffin or a slice of pie and quietly place it next to Henry's coffee. "You don't need to do this." Henry would protest gently. "They're just going in the trash anyway." Maya would reply, which wasn't entirely true. She'd started buying them with her own money on days when there were no leftovers. The other staff noticed her special attention to Henry. Jake, the morning cook, shook his head one day as he watched Maya wrap up a chocolate croissant. "You're too soft. Maya, that old guy's probably got family who should be taking care of him." "Maybe he doesn't," Maya replied, placing the pastry on a plate. "Maybe we're all the family he has right now." Rita was more direct. "Honey, you can barely afford your own groceries. Why are you feeding every sad story that walks through that door?" But Maya couldn't explain it. There was something about Henry that felt important, like their friendship mattered in ways she couldn't understand yet. When he smiled at her, really smiled, it felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. Their conversations became the highlight of her shifts. Henry would ask about her nursing classes, and Maya would share what she was learning about patient care and medical procedures. He listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions that showed he understood more about healthcare than most people. "You're going to be an excellent nurse," he told her one morning. "You have the most important quality. You see people's hearts, not just their problems." Maya learned that Henry took long walks around the city every day. He knew all the neighborhoods, all the best parks, all the little details that only longtime residents notice. He'd lived in Seattle his whole life, he said, and watched it change from a small logging town into the bustling city it was today. "Do you have children?" Maya asked one day. Henry's face grew thoughtful. "We were blessed with 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. They're all grown now, successful in their own lives. But busy, you know how it is. They call sometimes, visit for holidays. But day to day," he trailed off. Maya understood. Success sometimes meant distance. People got caught up in their own lives, their own problems. They forgot that their elderly parents might be lonely, might need someone to talk to about more than just the weather. One particularly rough morning, Maya arrived at work with red eyes. Her mother had been up all night coughing, and the latest medical bills had arrived. The nursing school payment was due in 2 weeks, and she was still $300 short. Henry noticed immediately. "You look troubled today, dear." Maya tried to smile. "Just tired. Long night." But Henry wasn't fooled. "Would you like to talk about it?" Something about his gentle concern broke down her walls. She told him about the sleepless night, about counting and recounting her savings, about the fear that she might have to drop out of school. Henry listened without judgment, without offering easy solutions she couldn't afford. When she finished, he simply said, "Elizabeth used to tell me that the darkest hour is just before dawn. I know it probably doesn't help to hear that right now, but I've lived long enough to see it prove true more times than I can count." "I just want to help people," Maya said, wiping her eyes with her apron. "I want to be the kind of nurse who really cares, who makes people feel less scared when they're sick. But if I can't afford school, you will," Henry said with quiet certainty. "I don't know how yet, but someone with your heart will find a way. The world needs more people like you, Maya. It needs your kindness." That afternoon, as Henry prepared to leave, he placed his usual coins on the table plus a $5 tip. Maya tried to protest, but he held up his hand. "Elizabeth would have insisted," he said simply. "Some gifts are meant to be passed along." Maya watched him walk away into the afternoon drizzle, wondering how someone she'd known for just a few weeks could feel so much like family. She had no idea that their friendship was about to change both their lives forever. It was a Thursday morning when everything seemed to fall apart at once. Maya was running late for her shift, keys in hand, when her 12-year-old Honda Civic decided it had finally given up on life. The engine made a grinding noise that sounded like metal eating metal, then died completely in the parking lot of her apartment building. She turned the key again. Nothing. Not even a cough or a wheeze. Just silence. Maya sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, staring at the steering wheel. This was the last thing she needed right now. Her mother's doctor appointment was tomorrow. Her nursing school payment was due in 5 days, and now this. She pulled out her phone and called the only mechanic she could afford. Tony's Auto Repair, 3 blocks from the diner. "Yeah, we can tow it," Tony said when she explained the situation. "But I gotta warn you, if it's what I think it is, you're looking at $1,200, maybe $1,500. Transmission problems don't come cheap. Maya felt her stomach drop to somewhere around her shoes. $1,500. She had $327 in her savings account. She grabbed her work clothes and ran the 8 blocks to Murphy's diner, arriving sweaty and 15 minutes late. Rita raised her eyebrows but didn't say anything. Maya tied her apron with shaking hands and dove into the morning rush. When Henry arrived at his usual time, Maya was wiping down table 6 for the 3rd time, her mind spinning with numbers that didn't add up no matter how she arranged them. "Good morning, Maya," Henry said, settling into booth 3. "You seem distracted today." Maya poured his coffee, her hands not quite steady. "Just one of those mornings, you know." But Henry's kind eyes missed nothing. "Would you like to talk about it?" Maya glanced around the diner. The morning rush was slowing down and Rita was handling the other customers. She slumped into the seat across from Henry, feeling like a deflated balloon. "My car died," she said simply, "completely dead. And the mechanic says it's going to cost more money than I have in the world." Henry sipped his coffee slowly. Cars can be cruel that way. They always seem to break down at the worst possible moment. "That's not even the worst part," Maya continued, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. "My nursing school payment is due Monday. $300. I've been saving for months, working double shifts, skipping meals. I finally had almost enough, and now—" She gestured helplessly. "Now you have to choose between your education and your transportation," Henry finished gently. "I can't get to school without a car. I can't get to work without a car. But if I don't make this payment, I get dropped from the program." Maya felt tears threatening. "I know it's just $300 to some people, but it might as well be $3 million to me." Henry was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the busy street. "Education is precious," he said finally. "Once you have knowledge, no one can take it away from you. Elizabeth always said that." "I just wanted to help people," Maya whispered. "I wanted to be the kind of nurse who actually cares, who makes patients feel less scared. But maybe it's just not meant to be." "Don't say that," Henry said firmly, with more force than she'd ever heard from him. "The world needs people like you, Maya. People with genuine hearts. There has to be a way." Maya appreciated his faith in her, but faith didn't pay bills. She finished her shift feeling like she was carrying a weight that kept getting heavier with each step. That evening, she sat at her kitchen table with a calculator, trying to make the impossible work. If she used all her savings for the car repair, she'd have nothing for school. If she paid for school, she'd have no way to get there. Round and round her thoughts went, always ending in the same dead end. Her mother shuffled into the kitchen, moving slowly but determined. "What's wrong, sweetheart? You look like someone stole your favorite song." Maya explained the situation, watching her mother's face grow more concerned with each detail. "I have some money saved," her mother offered quietly. "It's not much, maybe $200, but—" "No, Mom," Maya interrupted. "That money is for your medications. I'm not taking your medicine money. But your education—" "I'll figure something out," Maya said, though she had no idea what. Friday morning came gray and drizzly, matching Maya's mood perfectly. She took 2 buses to get to work, adding an extra hour to her commute. Henry was already waiting in booth 3 when she arrived, and somehow, his presence made the day feel a little less hopeless. "Any word on your car?" he asked as she poured his coffee. "Transmission's completely shot," Maya said. "Tony says it would cost more to fix than the car's worth. He knows a guy who might give me $500 for it as scrap, but that's still nowhere near enough for school." Henry nodded thoughtfully.
"And your payment deadline?"
"Monday," Maya said. 3 days. She went through the motions of her shift, smiling at customers and refilling coffee cups, but her heart wasn't in it. She kept checking her phone, hoping for some miracle, some solution she hadn't thought of yet. That afternoon, Maya received a call that would change everything. "Is this Maya Chen?" asked a professional woman's voice. "Yes, this is Maya. This is Linda Rodriguez from the financial aid office at Seattle Community College. I'm calling about your nursing program account." Maya's heart stopped. Had they already dropped her from the program? Was this the call telling her it was over? "There seems to have been an anonymous donation made to cover your remaining tuition," Linda continued. "The full amount, $3,400 plus an additional $1,000 for educational expenses." Maya sat down hard on her apartment steps. "I'm sorry, what?" "Someone has paid your entire remaining balance for the nursing program. They requested complete anonymity." but they left a note saying they believe in your potential and want to support your dream of helping others. But who would do that? How is that possible? I'm afraid I can't tell you more than that. The donor was very specific about remaining anonymous. But Maya, this is wonderful news. You're all set for the rest of your program. Maya stared at her phone after hanging up, wondering if she'd imagined the entire conversation. $4,400. From a complete stranger who believed in her potential. The next morning, another impossible call came. This time it was Tony from the auto shop. Maya, the strangest thing just happened. Some guy came in this morning and paid your entire repair bill. Said he heard about your situation and wanted to help. Wouldn't give his name, just paid in cash and left. That's impossible, Maya said weakly. I know it sounds crazy, but your car's fixed and ready to pick up. This mystery guy even paid for a full tune-up and new tires. Said a nursing student needed reliable transportation. Maya sat in her tiny kitchen, staring at the medical bills on the table, trying to make sense of what was happening. Someone out there knew about her situation, knew about her dreams, and had decided to change her life with the stroke of a pen. But who, and why? The only person she'd talked to about her problems was Henry, but that was impossible. Sweet, gentle Henry, who counted out exact change from his small coin purse, couldn't possibly have thousands of dollars to give away. Could he? Maya spent the entire weekend in a daze, walking around her apartment like someone had just told her she'd won the lottery. Every few minutes she'd check her phone to make sure the calls from the college and the mechanic hadn't been some elaborate dream. But the confirmation emails were right there in black and white. Someone had paid her entire nursing school tuition and fixed her car. But who? She made a list of everyone she'd told about her problems. Her mother, Rita, Jake the cook, her friend Beth from nursing school, and Henry. That was it. 5 people. Her mother had $200 to her name. Rita barely made more than Maya did. Jake was saving for his own car. Beth was struggling just as much as Maya was with school expenses. That left Henry. But it couldn't be Henry. Could it? Sweet elderly Henry, who counted out exact change from his worn coin purse, who carried day-old pastries in paper bags to feed pigeons, who wore the same faded coat every day. It was impossible. Monday morning, Maya drove her newly repaired car to work, marveling at how smoothly it ran. New tires, fresh oil change, even the rattling noise that had bothered her for months was gone. Whoever had paid for this hadn't just covered the basics. They'd given her a car that ran better than it had in years. Henry was already in booth 3 when she arrived, reading a newspaper and sipping the coffee Rita had poured for him. Good morning. Henry? Maya said, studying his face carefully. How was your weekend? Quiet as usual, he replied with that familiar gentle smile. Though I did have the most interesting conversation with the pigeons in the park. They seem to think rain is coming. Maya poured him a fresh cup, her mind racing. If Henry was behind the donations, would he mention them? Would he hint at it somehow? Henry, she said carefully, sliding into the seat across from him. Something incredible happened to me this weekend. His eyebrows raised slightly. Oh? Someone paid my entire nursing school tuition, anonymously, and fixed my car too. She watched his reaction closely. Can you believe that? Who would do something like that for a complete stranger? Henry's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Pride? Satisfaction? It was gone so quickly, Maya almost thought she'd imagined it. That's wonderful news, Maya, he said warmly. The world still has angels in it, it seems. But I don't understand it, Maya continued. I keep thinking about who could possibly know about my problems and have that kind of money. The only people I've talked to about school are my family, co-workers, and, she let the sentence hang in the air, and old coffee shop customers who probably don't have 2 nickels to rub together. Henry finished with a self-deprecating chuckle. I wish I could help more people like whoever your angel is, but my social security doesn't stretch quite that far. Maya felt a pang of guilt for suspecting him. Of course it wasn't Henry. She was being ridiculous. The morning rush kept her busy, but during the lunch lull, a well-dressed businessman in his 50s came in and sat at the counter. Maya had seen him before. He worked at one of the offices nearby and usually ordered a turkey sandwich and coffee to go. The usual, Mr. Peterson? Maya asked, grabbing the coffee pot. Actually, just coffee today, he said, loosening his tie. I've got to head over to Wellington Industries for a meeting this afternoon. Their quarterly reports are due. Maya poured his coffee, half listening as she wiped down the counter. Wellington Industries? I think I've heard that name before. Probably have, Mr. Peterson said. They own half the commercial real estate in downtown Seattle. Old Henry Wellington built that empire from nothing. Smart as a whip, that man. His son runs it now, but the old man still comes around the office sometimes. Maya's hand froze on the coffee pot. Henry Wellington? Yeah, you know him. He's got to be in his 70s now. Sweet old guy, though you'd never know he was worth millions just by looking at him. His wife passed away last year, terrible thing. People say he's been pretty lost without her. The coffee pot slipped from Maya's suddenly numb fingers, crashing to the floor and shattering into a dozen pieces. Hot coffee splashed everywhere and Mr. Peterson jumped back to avoid getting burned. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Maya gasped, grabbing towels to clean up the mess. Are you okay? Mr. Peterson asked, concerned. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maya's mind was spinning. Henry Wellington. Worth millions. Lost without his wife. It couldn't be a coincidence. There couldn't be two elderly men named Henry in Seattle whose wives had recently died. Mr. Peterson, Maya said carefully as she mopped up coffee. This Henry Wellington. What does he look like? Tall, thin, silver hair. Dresses pretty simply for a millionaire. Why, Maya's legs felt weak. She sat down hard on a nearby stool, the pieces clicking into place like a puzzle solving itself. The way Henry always seemed to know so much about healthcare. The thoughtful questions he asked about her nursing studies. The quiet confidence in his voice when he said good people would find a way. I think, Maya said slowly, I might know him. After Mr. Peterson left, Maya couldn't concentrate on anything. Every time she looked at booth 3, she imagined Henry sitting there. Not as the lonely elderly man she'd befriended, but as someone who could write a check for her entire tuition without thinking twice about it. When Henry arrived for his usual afternoon coffee, Maya felt like she was seeing him for the first time. The same gentle eyes, the same soft voice, the same careful way of counting out his exact change. But now she noticed other things too. The way he carried himself with quiet dignity. The expensive watch hidden under his faded sleeve. The fact that his clothes, while old, were made from quality fabric. You're staring at me rather intently today, Henry said with an amused smile. Do I have something on my face? Maya sat down across from him, her heart pounding. Henry, can I ask you something? Of course, dear. What's your last name? Henry's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. For a moment, the diner seemed perfectly quiet except for the distant sound of traffic outside. Wellington, he said finally, setting down his cup. Henry Wellington. Maya felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. You own Wellington Industries, it wasn't a question. Henry nodded slowly. You paid for my school, Maya whispered. And my car. Henry's eyes crinkled at the corners the same way they did when he smiled. Elizabeth always said that kindness should be passed along quietly. She never wanted credit for the good things she did. But why? Maya's voice was barely audible. Why me? Henry leaned forward, his voice gentle but serious. Do you remember the first day we met? When I was short $1 for my coffee? Maya nodded, unable to speak. You didn't just give me free coffee, Maya, you gave me dignity. You didn't make me feel embarrassed or ashamed. You treated me like I mattered. His eyes grew bright with unshed tears. After Elizabeth died, I spent months feeling invisible. Like I didn't matter anymore. Then I met you, and for the first time in months, someone saw me as a person worth caring about. But you could have just told me who you were, Maya said. Henry shook his head. I wanted to know who you really were, not who you'd be if you knew I had money. And what I found was someone with the biggest heart I'd ever met. Someone who reminded me of my Elizabeth. Maya felt tears running down her cheeks. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Henry said softly. Just promise me you'll become the wonderful nurse I know you're meant to be. The next morning, Maya wondered if everything would be different now that she knew Henry's secret. Would their friendship change? Would she feel awkward around him? As she tied her apron at Murphy's diner, she felt nervous butterflies dancing in her stomach. When Henry walked through the door at his usual time, Maya held her breath. But as soon as she saw his familiar gentle smile, all her worries melted away. This was still Henry, the same man who fed pigeons in the park, who listened to her dreams, who had become like a grandfather to her. Good morning, Maya, he said, settling into booth 3. Black coffee, if you please. Coming right up, Maya replied, pouring his coffee with steady hands. How are the pigeons doing today? Henry's eyes twinkled. They're wondering why I was grinning like a fool in the park yesterday. I told them it was because a dear friend of mine just got some very good news. Maya sat down across from him, the morning rush still an hour away. Henry, I have to ask you something. Please be honest with me. Always, Henry said simply. Are you going to keep coming here? Now that I know who you are, I mean. You could eat anywhere in the city. Fancy places with cloth napkins and waiters in bow ties. Henry looked genuinely surprised. Maya, dear, why on earth would I want to do that? The best coffee in Seattle is right here. He gestured around the worn but cozy diner. More importantly, the best company is right here. But I'm just a waitress, Maya said quietly. No, Henry said firmly. You're not just anything. You're Maya. You're the person who saw an old man who needed kindness and gave it without expecting anything in return. You're the future nurse who's going to make patients feel less afraid when they're at their scariest moments. You're someone who makes the world brighter just by being in it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. I still can't believe you paid for everything. It's too much. It's not nearly enough, Henry replied. Maya, when Elizabeth died, I thought my life was over. I had all the money in the world, but I felt completely empty. Then I met you, and you reminded me that there's still good in this world. You gave me purpose again. Over the following weeks, their friendship continued exactly as before. Henry still came in 3 times a week, still ordered black coffee, still sat in booth 3. The only difference was that Maya stopped wrapping up leftover pastries for him, which made Henry laugh. I'm going to miss those day-old muffins, he teased one morning. You can afford fresh ones now. Maya shot back with a grin. But they won't taste as good as the ones given with love, Henry replied, making Maya blush. 1 month later, Henry arrived at the diner with an official-looking folder under his arm. Maya noticed it immediately, but didn't want to pry. After she'd served his coffee, Henry opened the folder and spread some papers across the table. Maya, I want to show you something, he said. I've been working with my lawyers on a project, and I'd like your input. Maya looked at the documents. The heading read, The Elizabeth Wellington Scholarship Foundation for Healthcare Students. It's a scholarship fund, Henry explained, for students who are pursuing careers in nursing, medicine, and other healthcare fields. Students who demonstrate not just academic ability but genuine compassion for others. Maya's mouth fell open. Henry, this is incredible. The foundation will provide full scholarships to 50 students each year. Tuition, books, living expenses, everything they need to focus on their studies instead of worrying about money. Henry's voice grew warm with excitement. But here's the part I need your help with. I want you to help choose the recipients. Me? Maya squeaked. Who better to identify genuine compassion than someone who lives it every day? I've watched you, Maya. You see people's hearts. You know the difference between someone who wants to help others and someone who just wants a steady job. Maya stared at the papers, overwhelmed. This will change so many lives. That's the idea, Henry said. Elizabeth always believed that education was the greatest gift you could give someone. It opens doors that can never be closed again. As Maya's nursing program progressed, she excelled in her classes. Her professors noticed her natural empathy with patients and her ability to calm even the most anxious people. During her clinical rotations at Seattle General Hospital, other nurses began asking for Maya specifically when they had difficult cases. There's something special about that girl. Maya overheard one veteran nurse tell another. Patients trust her immediately. She has a gift. Henry was delighted to hear about Maya's success. Elizabeth would have been so proud, he told her one afternoon. She always said that the best nurses were the ones who treated patients like family. 2 years later, Maya walked across the stage at her nursing school graduation. In the audience, between her tearful mother and proud friend Beth, sat Henry, applauding louder than anyone else. After the ceremony, he approached her with a small wrapped box. Elizabeth wanted to give this to our daughter someday, Henry said softly. But we weren't blessed with a daughter. You've become the daughter of my heart, Maya. I think she would want you to have it. Inside the box was a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant shaped like a nursing cap, Elizabeth's nursing pin from when she graduated 50 years earlier. Can't take this, Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. You're not taking it, Henry replied. You're carrying it forward. Wear it and remember that kindness creates ripples that spread far beyond what we can see. Maya's first job was in the pediatric ward at Seattle Children's Hospital. Her gentle manner with scared children and worried parents quickly made her a favorite among families. She had a way of explaining medical procedures that made them less frightening, and her smile could calm a crying child better than any medication. One evening, while working late, Maya met a teenage patient named Danny who was facing a difficult surgery. His family couldn't afford to stay in the city, so he was alone and terrified. "What if something goes wrong?" Danny asked, his voice shaking. Maya sat on the edge of his bed just like she'd seen Elizabeth do in old photos Henry had shown her. "Danny, do you want to know a secret? Sometimes the best things that happen to us start out looking like the worst things." She told him about her own struggles, about meeting an old man in a coffee shop who changed her entire life with a simple act of kindness. Danny listened with wide eyes, and by the end of the story he was smiling. "So you're saying my surgery might lead to something good?" "I'm saying that when we face scary things with courage, we often discover we're stronger than we thought. And sometimes the people who help us become heroes in our own stories." Danny's surgery went perfectly, and when he left the hospital 2 weeks later, he hugged Maya tightly. "I'm going to be a doctor someday," he declared. "And I'm going to tell scared kids stories just like you did." 5 years after graduation, Maya opened her own community clinic in the neighborhood where she grew up. The clinic provided health care to people who couldn't afford traditional medical care, funded entirely by the Elizabeth Wellington Foundation. On opening day, Henry cut the ribbon alongside Maya, both of them grinning from ear to ear. The sign above the door read, "Elizabeth Community Health Center, where everyone matters." "She would have loved this," Henry said, looking at the sign. "She did love this," Maya replied. "Every time we help someone here, we're continuing what she started. What you both started." That evening, as Maya locked up the clinic after treating her last patient of the day, she touched Elizabeth's nursing pin hanging around her neck. A homeless man shuffled past on the sidewalk and Maya called out to him, "Sir, are you hungry? I was just about to grab some coffee. Would you like to join me?" The man's surprised smile reminded Maya of another coffee shop, another act of kindness that had changed everything. As they walked toward the diner together, Maya realized that the most beautiful thing about kindness was how it multiplied, creating an endless chain of good that stretched far beyond what any one person could imagine. Henry had been right all along. Sometimes the smallest gestures really do create the biggest waves.